you know, Avis is our OP, and I know we get to sometimes be in meetings with her and etc., but we're always talking about what? Business. Which part of the business I'd like to talk about, but I would like us to really get to know Avis. So why did you get in real estate? What made you, Avis, decide to get in real estate?
Well, my dad had a real estate license. He was a banker and license holder. And I'm the youngest child of 4 children. And my brother had a real estate license. And ultimately all of us did. And, except my mother, and she said somebody's got to have a real job. I went to the University of Texas. I went on a path where I kind of thought I might go to law school and get a degree in political science, and then decided not to go to law school, and I followed in the family tradition. I got a real estate license in 1978, and didn't actually start practicing real estate until 1980, and it was a great time. Right after that, of course, the interest rates went to 16%.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how I got here.
Mm-hmm. So you've seen a few ups and downs, haven't you?
Yeah.
I mean, when you got in,
I was 12, I just say.
yeah. But you also went through the savings and loan.
Oh yeah.
I mean, there's some people in here that are younger than when you got your license.
Absolutely.
And don't know of, I mean, I was pretty young when the savings and loan stuff was happening. So you saw that. Mid 90s, there was a big drop.
Yep.
2000, there was a big drop. 08, there was a big drop. So now we're living through another drop. What would be your advice for people on that?
Well, hopefully what you did when times were good is you put some money away, I'll say that. Because I used to have a bumper sticker on my car that said, please God, just give us another upturn and I'll save money this time. You know? And so hopefully you did that, because there's a lot of people in our industry fighting for a shrinking population of buyers right now. But there are still buyers. I mean, actually, we had a better month in February, a closed month, than I thought we would, because both in this month it's looking really good for Round Rock and Georgetown from terms of people closing deals. So there's still deals to do. So my advice is, don't be distracted by things that you can't control, aka an NAR lawsuit. Because there's always going to be something going on that's going to distract you, that you're going to want to worry about. None of us have anything to do with that. We're all realtor, well, not all, but most of us are members of the realtor organization, and yet none of us are in the leadership team. None of us have any say-so in that. And we can whine about it, and that's okay, but stay focused on your people, on the buyers and sellers and landlords and tenants that you know, that you can represent. Keep making your calls, keep trying to find business in all the ways that you do that. Networking with your friends, networking at church, talking to people at your kids' Boy Scout meeting, you know, whatever it is you do to get business, and stay focused on it, and have your scripts together about what is the NAR 172 things you do in a transaction, or 76 or something. And be sure you're clear on that, because more than ever it matters, because there are a whole bunch of people that you deal with that don't know anything about the NAR lawsuit because they don't care and they're not hearing it. And so I think that we need to be a little proactive and say there's some changes coming in our industry, and still a good time to buy a house. Interest rates are whatever they are, and you sell houses. We sold houses when the interest rate was 16%, and y'all are kind of whining about 6.5%. And you know, I'm just saying, come on, people still have to put places.
Yeah, I think in perspective, for instance, let's assume buyer agency was to disappear. You did it when there was no such thing as buyer agency.
Yeah, exactly. It was sub-agency, and everybody, the seller paid everybody, and all kinds of problems with that we didn't even realize because we didn't know. You know, we were just doing what we did, finding the house, putting people together, negotiating the deal, getting it closed, finding a good lender, blah, blah, blah. All of those things, we didn't know what we didn't know. And then in '94, was that when we kind of went, well, that was intermediate. All of that change took place while I've been in the industry, going to a buyer agency to represent both sides, taking away sub-agents. And I'll never forget, I was actually in a leadership role. I was a manager for another brand when this change in disclosure came. And the original disclosure that you were a buyer's agent or a seller's agent, not the IBS that y'all were familiar with, the original disclosure was about that long. And we printed if you were representing the buyer on one side, if you were representing the seller on the other side. And so you took that form with you to get people to sign to say they knew you were representing who you were representing. And I remember an agent that came in one day, it was an older lady, probably my age now, but at the time she was a lot older than me. And she said, well, honey, I just got them to sign both sides. You pick the one we need to use. Yeah. Yes, all of those changes took place, and you could do it if buyer agency went away.
Yeah, you don't, as a broker, you don't want to go there.
I don't want to go back there. I don't want to go back there because the problem with sub-agency, which is still in the law, which means that if you were going to have a buyer that said, I absolutely don't want to be represented, and they wanted to buy, for instance, Coldwell Banker's listing, and you're going to show it to them, you've got to call and see if they would pay you as a sub-agent, and you would not be able to give the buyer advice, you would not be able to do all these things, and it would be kind of a tenuous thing. I'm sure you would call me and we'd talk through it, but it could happen. But the problem is, Coldwell Banker has now taken on liability for your mistakes because you're a sub-agent. Mm-hmm. And so if there's I don't mean to use you as a bad example, but if there was a problem, likely they're going to sue Coldwell Banker because you're a sub-agent and me because you're a sub-agent. And it's really wonky. The sub-agency stuff.
So we don't want to go there, right?
We don't want to go there, but we can go there if we have to go there. I mean, I know how to train you how to do that, but it's unworthy, in my opinion, to spend the time doing it because it is so rare. We're covering it, in Legal 1 and 2 right now. And when we're doing train the trainer, we taught 6 different classes around the state to all the people who teach Legal 1 and 2, and went through the sub-agency part. And we would ask the question, how long has it been since anyone in this room has done sub-agency? And people would say 20 years, and blah, blah, blah. And we're in Austin with the Austin class, and I don't know, so 80 people in the room or whatever. And we asked that question, and somebody said last week. Mm-hmm. And it's an instructor that I know who's really good, and I was like, what? And so we made her stand up and say what she did. And she's a broker, and I've known her for a lot of years. And she had done everything by the book, and it closed, and she got paid. And yet, out of all those people, I don't know how many people are qualified to teach Legal 1 and 2, 3,500 people or something. And all those people, that was the only one that had done it in a number of years. And so I've asked that question in teaching salespeople, not trainers, and nobody even knows what I'm talking about. But we wanted to cover it because when you get your license now, there's a section on sub-agency that's kind of like scooted past, as I understand it. So we kind of wanted to come back and, with all that's going on, is this going to come back? We didn't know, so we kind of put it in that book. And so if you haven't taken it yet, I've given you a preview.
Don't let the instructor go zooming past him.
Yeah.
Okay, is what I would say.
Yeah, just let them.
Hey, I really want to talk about this. So Avis, what do you do on your free time? You got tons because you don't have a certain agent that's texting you at 8 o'clock. And the state's about to call.
Actually, what I like to do I read sometimes. I like to read fiction and leadership and all of those things, murder mysteries, and all of those things are just when I don't feel like being physical. But I have chickens, and so I feed chickens and gather eggs. That's kind And I like to do things with my hands. I actually have all the power tools that the guys in the room would wish they had. I build stuff. I like to fix things. I can't work on my car, but I've got old tractors and old cars, and I work on them, and I change out parts. I don't do anything on my car or my truck, you know, I go through the car wash, but don't change the oil, don't do any of that. But with it, you give me a 1949 Chevrolet, and I'm under the hood, man, I'm telling you. That sounds weird, I know, but here's the deal. What I do with all of you sometimes is never resolved. And so there's no closure. There's no closure, you know? And so and a lot of times you call me with a question and I never know what happened because you never call me back and tell me what happened.
That is true.
And so there's no closure. And so I go out there and this Chevy's not running just right. And I do a little this and a little that and it starts and it runs. I got closure, you know? I had a success. It's complete. I also actually totally love to mow grass on a riding lawnmower because my phone, I can't hear my phone, and and I can turn around and go, yeah, until it rains again, I'm doing good. So that's really cheesy. I know, but you asked the question.
That's good. So what's on your bucket list?
Oh, I just did one of those, you know. I just came back from Iceland. That was a huge bucket list. I've taken some things off. One of the things I had on my bucket list for a long time was to drive an 18-wheeler, and I took that off. But I decided I really didn't need to do that. I do have a bucket list item that I'm going to execute on probably next year. My great-grandfather was a preacher in Collin County, which is where McKinney and Plano and all that part of the world is where I grew up. And the family came over when he was a teenager from Tennessee. And he went back to Tennessee and Kentucky to go to preacher school, whatever it was called. And I have his diaries. And he's written all of these stories about the little churches in Tennessee that he preached in. And I want to go take my sister, who doesn't drive anymore and won't fly. I want to take her, and if my other sister, who's very prissy, will go, we'll go all three go. But anyway, and see if any of those churches still exist, and take pictures of them and go inside of them and all that. Just kind of a go back to roots kind of. That's the thing that's kind of on my head right now.
So what is the toughest challenge you faced in your life?
That's hard and that's easy. So some of you probably know and may not know that my husband is also a real estate broker in Keller Williams in Georgetown and commercial guy. And if you've met him, you know him, but he doesn't have the same last name. It keeps us very, that way you don't really put it together if you're being. But in 2010, he was in a near fatal automobile accident, had a collision, and the police report said probable fatality. And when I got to the hospital, my son was with me, and the doctor took us back in this little room and said, he's not going to make it through the night. And I said, that's not up to you, that's up to God. And my son said, would you get my mother some drugs, please? No, he didn't, but I think he was thinking that. But that was the hardest thing I think I ever have had to deal with. He was 8 days in a drug-induced coma. They didn't really expect him to live at all. 56 days hospitalized and in rehab, and he's walking 7-8 miles a day. He cannot bend his right leg at all. And that was the hardest thing I've ever been through.
But God,
And I would, I hope this is okay that I say this, but it actually brought me back to God.
Cool.
You never expected that, I'm sure.
No. Yes, yeah, probably more. For instance, my favorite story is something you told about. You know, I have call reluctance. And you tell, what's your story about when you had call reloads?
Talking about when I was brand new?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So, brand new agent, just got my license and didn't know anybody. And, so I decided that what I needed to do was, call for sale by owners because I knew they had advertised that they wanted to sell their house, right? And I was a single mom and my daughter was like 5 years old. And, I said, I took all these scripts. I know y'all don't like scripts, but they gave us scripts even back then, and about how to call for sale by owner, what to say. And the biggest piece of furniture that I had was a bed, so I laid them all out on the bed with the objections, because if they say this, you say this. That was all on it, and so I had it all laid out, and so I would say to myself, do you want Jenny to wear shoes this winter? Make calls. So I would do that, and it was kind of fun. The very first call I ever made, blah blah blah, whatever the script was, I don't remember, blah 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 blah. And they said, yeah, we've been thinking about listing it. Come on down here. And I'm like, oh God, I didn't know what to say. Okay, I don't know. So call. I mean, to me, that's what am I doing? Why am I doing this? I'm doing this because my other choice, divorced, is to go home and live with my mother and dad, and that's lose. And they're good people. Not about. It's about me having to go home and be a kid again, and some of you women may resonate with that. So I didn't want to do that. Didn't want to do it.
So you started your business for sale by owners.
Yep.
And I love this story, so I'm trying to figure out how I get this out of you. Leading questions.
Okay.
Without being, you know. So what did you do with their signs?
Oh yeah, I collected all their for sale by owner signs and put them around my desk, and just showed that I had been successful and I was motivated. Way better. I mean, recall single mom, and I was like listing agent of the whatever, and they'd give me a plaque, and I'm like, just spend the money. Give me a Sonic gift card. Don't spend the money on this piece of wood. I want these for sale by owner signs on the things.
Yeah, just tell another war story on me. Is I heard that story before I came to work for you, and I started doing that, but I was an expired guy.
Yeah.
And so I would go and get the agent's sign, I'd take it out of the yard, and I would take it to the other market center that I was involved with, and I would leave it in the front office in front of the Delphi, and would tell her, oh, they're gonna come pick that up. Of course, I was sitting there, showing off to the rest of because the agents would be walking by, looking at those signs. One time, though, one of the signs was like, what was it? It was like, 6x4,
Wow.
On 2 stakes, and I put it out in the parking lot. They got, that's the time the OP calls me, goes, okay, Bill. Because he didn't want people driving by going, what?
Yeah, that company's got our company.
Yeah. So I got yelled at that time. What do you think is gonna be your biggest challenge as in this industry as a whole? What do you think is the biggest challenge?
Well, I think getting through what we're going through right now and staying relevant. I really feel like part of all of this, and this is maybe conspiracy theorist talk, but I kind of feel like when things like this happen, you want to try to figure out how to follow the money. Who's going to benefit from this? Because the consumers that have put their name in the hat to get an award because they've been cheated by us are going to get $38.12 or something, and attorneys are going to make a lot of money, but who else is going to benefit from that? I don't know how to follow the money, but there's nothing that I can do about that either.
Yeah, at the end of the day, we can't.
So, this is so weird to me, how we got here. I can't figure it out.
Yeah, because again, kind of like you, they just destroyed a process, not perfect, I mean, it's made by humans, so it's not perfect. However, it was really a good system that the buyer was was just on even ground. And I thought, when it first started, I thought, oh, a sane judge will throw this out because it's not to the benefit of the consumer.
What court to take it to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, and at the end of the day, we, you know, contrary to popular belief, and we're concerned about the consumer.
Yeah.
You know, especially in this brokerage, right?
Well, exactly, and that's, see, there's also this whole independent contractor thing, like, because this is really cool, you know? You can own a business for not a whole lot of money, and depending on how much, you know, how you do it, and you're independent. I mean, there's things that I can require of you in order to work for me, like education and stuff, but you pretty much run your own show. And why would you destroy that spirit? Why, what is good about taking down our industry, which is how it's kind of felt. But I think we're gonna rise out of it. I think, I feel like the rest of you do. I was kind of low about it, but I really think we're gonna pull out of this and be better, a lot better.
Mm-hmm. What did I not ask you that you'd like to share with
Ooh,
us?
I don't know. What, does anybody else have a question?
Well, I'm glad you came.
Thanks.
This is very nice, and I'm really glad that everybody's here. I think this is it's almost a humbling experience, I think, for a lot of us in this industry. And and thank you for sharing, thanks for asking these questions. What is your, so I noticed that God and family are a big part of Keller Williams. And it's one of the things that I had interviewed 7 brokerage firms when I first became an agent, and was really, really nitpicky about what I expected and what I wanted to be a part of. And I think that the God and family component of Keller Williams is what really, really drew me. And I've come to realize, after seeing Bold and after meeting a few people in the market center and outside the market center, that it really is God and family. And there's a sense of unity and solidarity in this. How would you, what role does God play in your life with all of this?
Well, that's a good question. Well, I'm a Christian, and our God family business mantra is in any name that you see God as holy, we honor. And so, if there are people of faiths other than Christianity in the room, please don't be offended. I'm just talking about what I believe. And I believe in Christ. I believe He's alive and well and working miracles every day. I see it all the time. Things happen, and no way to explain it. And I pray for you guys. I pray for our office. I pray for our buyers and sellers. I want us all to have peace. In fact, if you know, some of you might know, that the legal name of our company in Georgetown is Placida Locus, which in Latin means peaceful place. And that was chosen, I intentionally chose that because that's what I want for all of you and for me, to have a peaceful place to do business. And that doesn't mean we don't have problems and people go stupid, and we may even act stupid. And I would tell you that, that God has this thing, at least my God has this thing about, it's not my will, it's done, it's His will. And I struggle with that because I'm a control freak. And so every once in a while, I just get like whacked on the head by God going, hey, you, this ain't about your plan, this is about mine. And negotiating with God is not a strong negotiating position. And so that's, faith is, I don't lay it out in front of you. I'm not gonna shove it down your face. I'm not gonna be all about you doing anything. I just believe because I knew it, I lived it, I was raised in the faith. But when Harry's accident happened, there is absolutely no reason for that man to be alive except for God. And I don't know how any of us would go through a trauma like that without a belief in a higher power. I feel bad for people and that don't have faith because I don't know where they get any hope.
So the first question is personal, the second one is business. So can you tell us, like, what was your favorite part of the experience, your bonding experience with your daughter when you went to Iceland? Like,
Oh my gosh, what was my favorite part? Okay, well, it was the hardest part. How's that? We hiked up a glacier, and it was 42 miles. That really wasn't what it was, but that's how it felt to me. but it was ice. It was a glacier, and we had those things on our shoes that are not like football players have, but whatever. And wind's blowing in our face about 50 miles an hour, and I don't know how cold it is, but really cold. And my daughter, the little group we were with, there were like 12 of us, and I kept going, and I kept saying, all I gotta do is turn around and go back and get in that van, and I'll be warm. All I gotta do is turn around and go get in that van, and I'll be warm. Keep going, don't weenie out on this, don't weenie out on this. And so she kept turning around and checking on me and coming back saying, you're gonna do it, Mom, you're gonna do it. That was probably the best bonding experience. I made it. I got all the way up to the ice cave, got to see the ice cave, and then I got to go down the hill and get back in the car. Yeah, I was so blessed that my son-in-law took care of the grandchildren so that we could do that.
it's about memories. So my business question is, you had mentioned, in part of your response to Bill about financial updates, and you were saying how February was such a surprisingly good
It was
month.
better. It was better.
So
for us,
the
yeah.
question I had is, and I think this is the accountant in me that doesn't try to really be an accountant too much, but can we get Market Center financial updates regardless of being on the ALC, or should we just go
Yeah,
to ALC meetings as a
You
non-speaking
can do
person?
any of those things. I think if you request them of Mary Thornton, we're an open book company. Anybody can see anything.
Getting the data and then having you interpret the data is a little different for understanding on almost like, we can go on the MLS and today I was on there and I saw the number of new listings and the decreases, but hearing just with your experience, like what does that necessarily translate to, and how is our market center doing in comparison to the other Keller Williams? Because I'm sure when you go to leadership meetings with all the other OPs, like just what does that look like? So just us as independent contractors can be more prepared to be business owners if we're not operating in that. Do you see where I'm going?
Yeah, I think so. We're a smaller operation than the other Austin operations. And so what are we at, 200 something people?
We're at 176 or 74.
Is that what's on Trek's website?
That is the last count at the last
At the
ALC meeting.
Okay, because if you look at Trek, and you're trying to figure out if that's how many agents we have, remember that every associated broker doesn't show up in the Trek number. So you have to add all the associated, because they're not sponsored, they're brokers. And so the only number that's under Trek under me is salespeople. So, so it's gonna be, I don't know, 25 or 30 more people when you put them together. And that's how come I never actually know, because I look at Trek's numbers. So, that's kind of small for a Keller Williams office in a metropolitan area. And so we are not in the top 10% or anything like that. But I think we can do a better job than we do right now. And we have not been as successful in recruiting as I feel like we should have been in Round Rock for sure, and in Georgetown a little bit more so. I mean, I think Round Rock's been in a worse place, and Georgetown has done a better job of recruiting. And
Recruiting or retention?
yes.
They're two different pillars.
Both.
Okay.
Those are the two pillars. Those are the two pillars of the job of the team leader and the assistant team leader. Is recruiting and retention, And we've had a shakeup in Round Rock, and I don't actually know what's going on, because I'm not the major owner in.
You're not the
I'm the
OP.
minor owner.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, but as an investor, I'm not. It's not my decision. It's Steve's decision. How that goes. Just flip side for Georgetown. And I think we can look at the data. What I always have looked at, seeing what's new on the market. Days on the market is important to us. During what 2020 one late in 2022. Days on the market were like 2 or something. And that's when we were doing that pay stupid process stuff. And now what we're about at 16 or something, we've gotten back up to more normal. And I think any 6 months or less is a stable, good market, 6 months or more.
Yeah, it depends.
Something like
Here, we're in the threes. The Waco's like in the fours.
Okay.
So, you know, it depends on, I mean,
Which micro market you're looking at.
yeah, because again, these agents are doing Temple, which is another world,
Mhm.
and then we got this side,
Yeah.
which is another world.
No,
So
yeah, well, and Cove is another world.
yeah. So and then I'm in Waco, so it's another world, different world.
Well, Nisha, I think it's good information for you to know what's going on in our office, and I don't have any problem, anybody wants to see that. If you have trouble getting it, I'll send it to you, and we can talk about it. We can have a Zoom.
Well, I mean, do they talk about it at the ALC? Because I know that if you're not on ALC, you can still attend, you just can't talk. But I'd rather be in a session with you and I can talk, right? Because I can now ask my questions, I can ask them.
So the answer to your question is we just go over it. There's not a lot of I know what you're asking. You're an accountant. You're going, what's the cash flow? What's the
I mean, because I know,
yeah, you know, and so those kind of things aren't really drilled down on.
Maybe-
There's supposed to be.
but if they
It's
do,
supposed
you
to
can make
be.
decisions to help the recruiting
Right.
and the
The
retention.
Well-
there's supposed to be a finance committee that goes over those things every month. I don't know if you'll have one right now.
No, we don't.
And,
My bad, I did not mean to
No,
expose
it's
any
okay.
holes.
No,
in
no,
the
you
thing.
guys, we're
No,
in.
no, everybody knows what's going on. Everybody knows that Ryan left. I've got Mary Thornton in a temporary role for MCA. And she also does Round Rock.
Yeah,
And
she's
so-
kind of.
and she's
She
kind of.
can't come in and talk to because she's busy making sure you get your check.
Approving DAs.
Yeah, okay. So I'm not
And
gonna.
so, I think that we don't have a finance thing right this minute because Mary, it's underwater. She didn't have time to have a meeting with a small group of people and explain that. I still think we probably ought to have a committee and let them meet and go over it and then send her questions because
Which you guys can do.
anybody can do. I mean, open book company means everything, all the salaries, everything is for you to absolutely look at. It's